Hello everyone, it is Jasmine Elise and I am in the third video in my series where I am showing you the different levels of true everyday natural makeup. I created this series because I see tons of videos on YouTube and TikTok of everyday glam. The everyday makeup routines tend to look glam or be a lot of steps. So in this series, if you haven't watched my other videos, I am just showing you from the basic of the basic true everyday makeup to what I would consider everyday glam and how to achieve different levels of those, different tricks you can incorporate so you achieve your definition of everyday makeup. I don't know whether to look here or here, but you guys let me know which one you prefer. I'm probably gonna end up looking here a little bit more because I can see myself there. So good. I can't believe I ever stopped drinking tea. So if you didn't watch my last video or my first video in this series, go back and watch it because my skin prep is all done by courtesy of that video. So watch that video to know everything I use to prepare my skin. And I'm just gonna show you how I go from this to this. So the first thing we're gonna do is primer. I am using One Size Secure the Sweat Primer because I feel like I'm putting on a bit more makeup. I am definitely putting a bit more makeup than the last one. And the last one I would be okay with the Hydro Grip. But this one I'm having a lot more makeup on. Notice I'm pressing this on top of the skin, not rubbing. I like to tap my primer on top of my skin. So with whatever primer you choose to use, whether it's something to make it sweat proof, lasting all day, you're gonna wanna press it into your skin. Now the first thing I'm gonna do while that sits on top of my skin is my brows. So I take a little bit of translucent powder on a brush, like a loose brush. You could use an eyeshadow brush. Tap off the excess into the cap and just press it onto my brows. I'm gonna use my and your and our interchangeably, but you're gonna wanna tap that onto the brows. Like I'm getting in the camera so y'all could really see what's happening here. This step is to mattify the brows, okay? I pretty much always do this unless I'm doing makeup like I did in the last video. This step is essential, and I will say this in every single video, because it's absorbing the moisture so that whatever brow product you put on, whatever brow pomade you put on does not slip off by the end of the day. If your brows are slipping off by the end of the day, this step is gonna cure that. So notice the difference between the two brows. This left one has a lot more sheen on it, but the one on the right is mattified now. Brush my brows. So just brush them up. If you don't have any brows, or if you have a few brows, brush them into like their natural flow shape. You know, everybody has brow bone. So if they're rounder, start brushing them in a round shape. If you actually can see your arch, of your brow bone, start grooming them towards that. Everything in makeup is done in layers. So you're starting with brushing them into place. And then we're gonna draw them on or fill them in. And then we're going to set them in place with a gel. So everything is really building on top of each other. The general rule of thumb is to take your tail, or the end of your brow should be, if you connect your nose to your eye, that's about where the end of your brow should taper off to. Your tail is the thinnest part of your brow. Then you could use your nose like divot as where your brow should start. You should use a divot in your nose and go straight up for where it should start. Divot in my nose. and go straight up. Now this doesn't mean I'm gonna do a block right at the front. I'm gonna do those thin light hair strokes right at the front that resemble what's already there, okay? So with makeup, we are mimicking what is already there. We're just enhancing it and giving it new texture. So with the pencil, it's honestly best to have like a sharp pencil. Sometimes I'll just press the end into a paper towel so I get a sharp, crisp edge like it's new. And then you're going to draw straight hairs from where the hairs are going up straight. Do a small angle down to the front. Where that divot in our nose was, you go straight up. It's a mixture of going flick up, like blades of grass, okay? So straight up. But I do a variation of them. And it's best to have a freshly sharpened pencil because you can see here, this is like thicker than the ones I created here. Resharpen it. Then another thing with your brows, you wanna make sure they're drawn straight across. So what you could even do at this point, which is why I like to do brows first, is try to draw like a straight line or a light straight line to make sure they are even, like one's not up here and one's down here, because there are people like that where your eyebrows are like on the low. And with makeup, we're creating the illusion of symmetry. We will get rid of this line. Don't you worry, don't you worry, don't you fret. And then for filling in your brows, now is where we start to go sideways, okay? So go sideways and fill in. I favor this brow like over this one. I'm trying to replicate this one over here, then I need to fill in right here so it looks like this. So you always want to follow the natural shape of the brows. We're just making them look sharper. And then for the end, same thing. We're doing more of a sideways downward angle. But I have very light pressure, okay? Okay, for defining the eyebrows, something that is very helpful is to have a flat brush like this. Now taking a concealer, we're going to cover the extra hairs, right? That keep the eyebrow from looking like they're freshly done. And trust, this will go away. Don't worry. So it can be helpful to start lower, like down here, and then work your way to the top. And just clean to make an arch. That's it. Then use your finger to tap away the edges. And now we've made a little bit of an arch. So sit back, assess. Okay, I see that like there's a little gap there. I might have to fill that in. There's extra hairs growing here. So look back and see what is keeping me from looking pristine, okay? Right there. And it's always helpful after a few strokes to brush back. Some people brush, they'll do 1, 2, 3, and then brush, and then fill in again and brush. Some people can just fill in the whole brow and then do a few brushes at the end. All these bars. I'm dragging it out towards the tail, which we measured when I went like this, okay? The biggest thing is the defining arch that makes your eyebrow stand out the most. And there we go. Perfect. The unibrow is gone. If you struggle with oily skin, like extremely oily skin, or your makeup just tends to look oily throughout the day, you're gonna wanna do this. One thin ply of toilet paper, or you can just get Scott toilet paper because it's one ply anyway, I'm pretty sure. And I have my foundation. So I'm taking that one ply, wrapping it around a sponge. And this is gonna be really useful if you want extremely natural makeup too. You're going to lightly tap your face to pick up any excess oils. And then it would come off or on the toilet paper. And that's really gonna help with the longevity of your makeup and reducing the oiliness and shine throughout the day. So at this point, if you wanted to just lightly brighten underneath your eyes, or if you have hollows in your eyes or dark shades in your eye that are discolored that you don't really prefer, this is where you're gonna do that. We're not gonna do a full concealer like how we do a triangle usually underneath the eyes. We're just gonna look right for that hollow and bring lightness to it. Right now it's sunken in, but putting a lighter color right there is gonna bring it forward, making this look really more level. Like I said in my last video, makeup is using light and darkness to create balance in your face. So that's what we're doing here. And you can let that sit. I do like to let my concealer sit for a moment in time. Blend it out. And tap off the excess on the paper towel. And like I didn't put any concealer before by my nose, so I could do it now. Yeah. You'll notice I start dragging some of that excess concealer down to the sides of my nose and around my mouth, which are regular areas that I would highlight when I was doing a more dramatic look. But in this case, I'm just bringing the excess down a little bit to give a subtle brightening effect. Okay, you'll notice that I went in with a brighter concealer along the sides of my nose just to start creating some more definition in my nose area. And then right away, I blended under my eyes one last time and went in with thin layers of Charlotte Tilbury's finishing powder. This is important because the longer you wait between putting powder underneath your eyes, the more susceptible you are to having more intense creasing. To minimize your creasing, put on your powder right after you blend out underneath your eyes. This trick here I learned from Lachey's Glam. You want to place something straight underneath your jawline while you're doing your bronzer because that will help the bronzer from falling underneath your jawline or from dragging the bronzer a little bit too low. At the end, I go in with this blurring powder that's slightly lighter than me, but it still blends everything together. It makes the harsh lines from the bronzer a little softer, and I also like placing it in areas where I would reverse contour, like I was just doing, to enhance the contrast between the bronzer, ultimately making me look more structured. I diffused the product throughout the brush and even brush my eyebrows backwards to make sure the product is really getting in on every strand. But the reason I placed it on the back of my hand first is because I don't want to overbear my brows with too much brow product. If you have thicker brows, you want to brush your brows backwards first to make sure you're able to coat every single hair, and that will really help with keeping your brows in place all day, all night, all morning, throughout this whole life. Throughout this process, constantly be checking yourself in the mirror to find any details that you missed. Like when I decided to make my tail just a smidge longer. This is a reminder that all products for makeup are versatile. I'm using a cream foundation as a lip liner. It's creamy and much darker than my skin tone, so it makes a beautiful shade to go around my lips, define them, while I pop in a paler pink in the center of my lips to mimic my natural lip tones. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh my gosh, the mascara. At this point, you're basically done. If you want to add natural lashes, that is completely optional, and I'll show you how to do that. Depending on your eye shape, some lashes get longer in the center and shorter on the outside. Some lashes are longer on the outside and shorter at the front. Choose your lashes according to your eye shape. If you have more doll-like eyes and bigger eyes, some that are heavier may be more fitting for you. If you have smaller eyes, like Asian resembling eyes, or even almond pie, lashes like the Ardell Wispies collections will definitely fit you a lot more elegantly than some heavier lashes that may droop down your eyes and weigh down your face. Very good, very good, very good. It should not be slipping off. Very good. Oops.